Have you ever wondered why some men seem to have a magnetic pull on women, without ever lifting a finger to chase them? Why do some men walk into a room and instantly command attention, respect, even desire without saying a single word? It's not magic. It's not money. It's something far more ancient and powerful. It's Stoic mastery. Before we dive deep into how Stoic men gain power over any woman without chasing, I want to ask you something. What if everything you've been taught about winning a woman's heart is wrong? What if chasing her is the very reason she's pulling away? Stick around to the end of this video, because we're going to break down 10 powerful suggestions from Marcus Aurelius that will not only shift how you think about women, but completely change how women respond to you. This isn't just about relationships. It's about power, respect, and self-mastery, the kind that radiates from within and makes others take notice without a single word. So if you're tired of playing games, getting ghosted, or always being the one to prove your worth, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and watch until the end, because this might be the moment your love life changes forever. Cassius was a Roman general, a man of war and wisdom. While other men in the court of Emperor Marcus Aurelius chased women with wine, gold, and sweet words, Cassius remained silent, grounded, calm. There was a woman in the court, Lucilla, the emperor's niece. Beautiful, intelligent, and used to being the center of attention. Men fell over themselves to gain her approval. But not Cassius. He showed no interest. He never complimented her. He never competed. And yet, Lucilla was intrigued, captivated. She watched him from afar, puzzled. What kind of man resists me? She wondered. Cassius, you see, was no ordinary man. He lived by the principles of Stoicism. He understood something that most men never will. Power is never in the chase. Power is in the pause. Now let's break down exactly how you can embody this same energy using the teachings of Marcus Aurelius. 1. Don't react, rise. Do you remember the first time you truly fell for someone? That one person who walked into your life and flipped your world upside down. Suddenly, everything they did mattered. The way they smiled, the way they said your name, the way they texted you good morning or didn't. Maybe it was the first girl you ever loved, or maybe it was the one who got away. Can you picture her face right now? Now think about what happened when things started to shift. At first it was beautiful, magical, like the universe was working in your favor. But then the messages got shorter, the replies slower. Her eyes didn't light up like before. And without even realizing it, you started reacting, overthinking, chasing, sending double texts, wondering, what did I do wrong? Sound familiar? You see, this is the trap so many good men fall into. We feel deeply, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when emotion controls us, we lose our power. And when we lose our power, we lose the woman. Let me tell you a story. There was a man in ancient Rome, his name was Cassius. Cassius had fallen for a woman named Aurelia. She was strong-willed, stunning, and sharp-tongued. Every man wanted her, and when she noticed Cassius, they started something real, or so he thought. But one day she grew distant. She stopped smiling when he spoke. Her letters became cold. She'd laugh harder at other men's jokes. And Cassius, like many of us, started to react. He confronted her, got jealous, asked questions, showed his pain, and the more he reacted, the more she pulled away. One evening, defeated and broken, Cassius visited his mentor, the great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius. Cassius said, "Why is she slipping away from me? I gave her everything. I showed her my heart." Marcus looked at him, calm and grounded, and said only this, "Don't react, rise." At first, Cassius didn't understand, but over time he learned. He stopped trying to pull her back. He started pulling himself together. He trained harder, spoke less, focused on his purpose, rebuilt his composure. And then something strange happened. She came back. Because women are not drawn to need. They are drawn to strength when you stop reacting to her coldness, her silence, her games, and instead rise into your grounded, calm, masculine self. You flip the dynamic. You go from being at her mercy to becoming a mystery, from emotional boy to composed man. So ask yourself honestly, in your last relationship, were you reacting or rising? Did you hold your frame, or did you fall apart? Here's the truth, the man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't need her reaction becomes the one she thinks about when she's alone. You're not weak for feeling, But you become weak when you let feelings lead you. Let her feel your absence, not your anxiety. Let her miss your silence, not your desperation. Don't react, rise. And remember, this isn't just Cassius's story. It's yours too. You just haven't reached your next chapter yet. 2. Stop talking. Start being. Have you ever tried to convince someone to love you? Maybe not with those words, but through your actions. You told her about your goals. You told her how much she meant to you. You told her how different you were from the other guys. You tried to show her with words that you were worth choosing. But did it work? Chances are, it didn't. And if you're honest with yourself, you already knew it wouldn't. Because deep down, something felt off, like you were performing instead of living. Let's rewind your story for a second. There was a moment you felt close to her. Maybe you were texting for hours. Maybe she laughed at your jokes. Maybe she said she missed you. And for a moment it felt real. So you leaned in. You said more, shared more, tried harder. You opened up like a book and hoped she'd want to keep reading. But instead, she closed the cover. Why? Because when a man talks too much about who he is, he secretly reveals that he's not yet being who he says he is. Let me take you back to ancient Rome. There was a young man named Severus, known across the empire for his ambition. He spoke of greatness, of power, of virtue. He told anyone who'd listen how disciplined he was, how loyal, how strong. He met a noblewoman named Calpurnia, graceful, reserved, and perceptive. At first she was impressed. He was different from the drunk fools at court. But over time she began to sense something beneath the surface. All his talk began to feel like overcompensation. And then came the day she met another man. He didn't say much. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He walked with quiet confidence. He listened more than he spoke. His life was disciplined, but he didn't advertise it. He just was. Calpurnia said nothing, but in her heart, a shift occurred. Because presence speaks louder than promises. Because when a man is, he doesn't need to explain. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." That quote could save you from heartbreak. Too many men are trying to sell themselves, telling her they're good men, telling her they're ready, telling her they'll treat her right. But here's the secret: real men don't talk about it. Real men show it, quietly, relentlessly, without needing applause. So let me ask you something personal again. In your last relationship, did you lead with action or explanation? Were you walking your path or waiting for her approval? Were you too focused on being seen as valuable, or were you living as valuable with or without her gaze? The man who stops talking and starts being, he becomes rare. And in a world full of noise, a rare man is impossible to ignore. So stop telling her you're the prize. Be the prize. Be so grounded in your mission, your growth, your self-respect, that even in silence she feels your presence. Because once you start being instead of talking, she'll stop needing words to understand your worth. 3. Truth only, always. Have you ever lied to a woman just to keep her? Maybe not a big lie. Maybe it was just pretending to like her favorite music. Or saying I'm fine when you were clearly breaking inside. Or holding back your opinions because you didn't want to ruin the vibe. Let me ask you, what did it cost you? Sometimes we lie not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear that if we show her the truth of who we are, she might walk away. So instead we twist ourselves into what we think she wants. We smile when we're hurt. We agree when we disagree. We nod even when something deep inside us is screaming, "This isn't me." Let me tell you about a man named Lucan. Lucan fell for a woman named Julia. She was bold, beautiful, unpredictable. She was the kind of woman who made life feel like a movie. And Lucan? He was hooked. But he was afraid to lose her. So when she joked about marriage being pointless, he laughed too, even though he believed in commitment. When she flirted with other men in front of him, he stayed silent even though it made his blood boil. When she asked if he'd be okay with an open connection, he nodded, though it shattered him inside. And she stayed, for a while, but over time Julia grew cold, distant, because even though Lucan gave her what she said she wanted, she no longer respected the man who gave it. One day, she said something that broke him completely. "I don't know who you are anymore." He realized she never knew in the first place, because he never told her the truth. He showed her a mask. Now listen closely, because here's the part most men miss. Women don't leave men because they're imperfect. They leave because the man stopped being real. Marcus Aurelius once said, If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. It's simple, but it's everything. A man who speaks truth, even if it costs him the girl, is a man who wins something bigger, his self-respect. And in the long run, that's what keeps love alive, not games, not lies, not masks. So let me ask you directly, in your last relationship, did she fall for the real you? Or the version you created just to keep her? Were you open about your values, your needs, your boundaries? Or did you shrink every time she disagreed just to keep her around? Here's what most men never learn. When you lie to keep a woman, you lose both yourself and her. But when you stand in truth, even if she walks, you gain power, peace, and presence. And the right woman? She'll be drawn to your honesty like gravity, because it's rare, because it's fearless, because it's real. So from now on, speak your truth, not to impress her, but to protect the man you're becoming. Truth only, always. 4. Master your mind. Have you ever lost your mind over a woman? Be honest. Not in a she's so beautiful way, but in the unhealthy way. You couldn't sleep. You checked your phone every 5 minutes. You replayed conversations, overanalyzed every text. You imagined her with someone else, and your chest tightened like it was being crushed from the inside. Sound familiar? If it does, I want you to know you're not weak. You're not broken. You're just human, with a mind that hasn't been mastered yet. Let me take you into a story that might sound like yours. There was a man named Tiberius. He met a woman named Flavia. From the moment they locked eyes, it was like the world paused. Everything about her captivated him. Her voice, her mystery, the way she moved. He thought about her constantly. She became his obsession. But soon, things changed. She started pulling away. And Tiberius, he fell apart. He couldn't focus at work. Couldn't eat. Couldn't think straight. One night, staring at his ceiling, he asked himself a question no man wants to ask.
How did I lose control of my own mind?
And then, he turned to philosophy, to the wisdom of a man named Marcus Aurelius. The Stoic emperor once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Tiberius finally understood. It wasn't Flavia that caused the pain. It was his thoughts about her. His attachment to an outcome. His belief that her attention was his oxygen. And so he began the real work, not of chasing her, but of mastering his mind. He woke up early. He trained his body. He meditated. He journaled. He rewired his brain to stop reacting and start observing. And slowly, the grip she had on his mind loosened. Here's what you need to hear. A woman cannot destroy you unless your mind is undisciplined. When you don't master your thoughts, your emotions become your master. When your emotions lead, you chase. When you chase, you lose your center. And when you lose your center, you lose her respect and yours too. So let me speak to your heart. Are your thoughts your tool or your tormentor? Are you in control of your reactions? Or are they running wild every time she pulls away? Have you built an inner fortress? Or are you still handing her the keys? It's time to become mentally unshakable, because the man who masters his mind doesn't beg, doesn't break, and doesn't let a woman determine his worth. You are not here to be ruled by her mood. You are here to rule yourself. Stillness is power, detachment is freedom, and discipline is your sword. So ask yourself, are you the man who reacts to everything she does, or the man who sits still while the world tests his peace? Master your mind, because once you do, no woman will ever have power over you again. 5. Think better. Live better. Have you ever stopped to question the way you think about love, about women, about yourself? Not just what you believe, but where those beliefs even came from. Let me tell you a story about a man named Cassius. Cassius grew up watching his father chase love. He saw his dad bend over backwards for a woman who didn't respect him. Watched him smile through insults, stay loyal to someone who wasn't loyal to him, and worst of all, watched him lose himself to keep her. So Cassius grew up believing this. Love means sacrifice, even if it hurts. By the time he was 28, Cassius had already been through 3 relationships that all ended the same way, him giving everything, and her walking away, and every time he thought, what's wrong with me? Why do they leave when I give them my all? He was broken, until one day something shifted. Cassius came across a quote from Marcus Aurelius. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He read it again, and it hit him harder than any breakup ever did. It wasn't the women who were the problem. It was the lens through which he saw love, value, and worth. He thought loving a woman meant losing yourself in her. But real love, Stoic love, is born from self-respect, clarity, and wisdom. That day, Cassius made a decision. He would stop letting his past write his present. He would take control of his thoughts and redesign his reality. And that, my brother, is where your transformation begins. Because here's the truth. Your life doesn't change by accident. It changes when your thoughts do. If you think women want a man who never says no, you'll become spineless. If you think you need her to feel happy, you'll become emotionally needy. If you think you're not good enough, you'll keep attracting women who treat you like you aren't. Your thinking is your fate. So let me ask you, what do you truly believe about yourself as a man? Do you believe you're worthy even if she leaves? Do you believe peace is something you create, not something she gives you? Or are you still operating from someone else's story, your father's heartbreak, your first crush's rejection, your past failures? This is your wake-up call. If you want a better relationship, build a better mind. If you want to be powerful with women, be powerful with your thoughts. Stop thinking like a beggar in love. Start thinking like a man of purpose. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself in your way of thinking. When you think better, you live better. And when you live better, you stop chasing love. You attract it, not because you need it, but because you've become the kind of man who doesn't. 6. Be grateful. Be magnetic. When was the last time you truly felt grateful, like deeply, silently grateful for the love you once had, even if it ended? Most men don't go there. When it ends, we get bitter, angry, resentful. We scroll through memories with clenched jaws. We think of all we gave and how she left anyway. And worst of all, we focus on what we lost instead of what we learned. But I want to tell you a story that might change the way you look at love forever. There was a man named Hadrian. He fell for a woman named Selene, and it was real, at least to him. He wrote her poems. He showed up when she was sick. He held her through her doubts. He supported her dreams even when it cost him his own. But one day she just stopped loving him. No fights, no betrayal, just a slow fade like a candle burning out. And Hadrian? He was devastated. For months he cursed her name in silence. He thought of everything he did, everything he gave, and how it meant nothing to her in the end. But one morning, sitting by a river, he opened a copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He read this line: "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." And just like that, something inside him shifted. He realized, yes, she left. Yes, it hurt. But it was still a privilege to have loved, to have felt, to have been alive during that moment, even if it didn't last forever. From that day, Hadrian did something most men never do. He practiced gratitude. Every morning he wrote down 3 things he was thankful for. Not just the wins, but the lessons, the losses, the moments that taught him who he really was. He didn't pretend the pain wasn't there, but he refused to let it blind him from the beauty that once was. And something amazing happened. His energy changed. He smiled more, walked lighter, spoke deeper, and women began to notice, not because he chased them, but because he radiated something rare: peace. See, here's what no one tells you. Gratitude makes you magnetic, because it shows that you're not desperate. You're not clinging. You're not bitter. You've made peace with your past, and that peace draws people in like gravity. So let me ask you, are you still carrying the weight of a woman who's already gone? Or are you using that experience to grow into someone stronger, calmer, more present? Because when you start seeing heartbreak not as punishment, but as a portal to power, you stop begging for love, you start attracting it. Gratitude is not weakness. It's a flex. It says, I've seen loss, and I still choose light. So be grateful, even for the pain, because one day you'll look back and realize that's the moment you became magnetic. So to care less, command more. Have you ever cared so much for a woman that you lost all power in the relationship? You texted first. You waited by the phone. You wondered why she was cold today, why she didn't laugh at your joke, why she used to say, I miss you, and now she barely replies. And worse, you started walking on eggshells. You stopped saying what you really felt, because deep down you were afraid she'd leave if you weren't perfect. Sound familiar? Let me tell you a story that might just feel like yours. His name was Lucan, a quiet, thoughtful man. He fell for a woman named Julia. She was radiant, charming, unpredictable. The kind of woman who pulls men in like gravity. At first, it was beautiful. They laughed, talked for hours. The connection felt effortless. But over time, Lucan started needing her energy to feel good. If she was sweet, he felt alive. If she was distant, he panicked. He started giving more than he should, saying yes to things he didn't want, avoiding conflict just to keep her happy. He thought he was being loving, but what he was really doing was giving up his center. And then one day it ended. She said he was too available, too soft, too nice. Lucan was crushed. He thought he was doing everything right. But in reality, he was doing the one thing that kills desire. He cared more than she did. Now listen to this carefully. I'm not telling you to be cold. I'm not saying love is weakness. But when you care more about her mood than your mission, you lose respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." Lucan realized that the moment he made her the center of his emotional world, he gave away the very thing that made him attractive, his detachment, his self-possession, his quiet strength. So he began a new chapter. He stopped over-explaining, stopped obsessing over her texts, started working out again, reading, leading. He became unavailable, not as a game, but because he finally had purpose again. And guess what? She noticed. She came back. But this time, he didn't chase, because now he cared less and commanded more. That's the paradox, brother. The less you care about her reactions, the more she's drawn to your energy. The man who doesn't flinch when she pulls away. The man who doesn't beg, doesn't argue, doesn't chase. That's the man she respects. Let me ask you this. Are you leading the relationship? Or being led by it? Are you showing up in full masculine power? Or just trying to earn her approval like a lost boy? Start caring less. Not because you're cold, but because you're whole. And when she sees that you don't need her to validate you, that's when she'll chase you harder than anyone ever has. Care less, command more. That's the Stoic way. 8. Choose strength always. When faced with hardship in love, do you choose to crumble, or do you choose to rise? Let me share a story about a man named Marcus, not the emperor, but an ordinary man just like you or me. Marcus had been in love before, deeply, and when that love didn't return the way he hoped, he felt broken. His heart shattered like glass on the cold stone floor. The nights felt endless and the days blurred into one another. But one moment changed everything for Marcus. He found himself sitting alone in a park, the weight of his loss pressing down like a heavy fog, and in his hands was a worn-out copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. As he flipped through the pages, one line caught his eye. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It was a revelation. He realized that every hardship, every heartbreak, every rejection wasn't a dead end, it was a test. A call to become stronger, to rise above his pain, not be buried beneath it. This wasn't just about Stoic philosophy, it was about real life. When a woman pulls away, when love doesn't go your way, it's easy to let bitterness and weakness take over, to complain, to beg, to lose your power. But the truly powerful man, the Stoic man, chooses strength, always. He chooses to see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you chose strength in love even when your heart was breaking? When did you last stand tall instead of crumbling? Did you let pain define you, or did you let it refine you? Strength isn't about being emotionless or cold. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that no heartbreak, no disappointment, no rejection can steal your peace. Marcus, the man in our story, started focusing on himself. He trained his body, sharpened his mind, and rebuilt his life brick by brick. He didn't wait for love to come back. He became the man who deserved it. And here's the secret. Women are drawn to strength. Not loud strength, not aggressive strength, but quiet, unshakable strength, the kind that says, I'm whole with or without you. Because when you choose strength, you don't just survive heartbreak, you rise from it. You don't just endure pain, you transform through it. And that transformation, that's the real power women feel. So brother, the next time love tests you, remember Marcus's choice. Choose strength always, because strength is magnetic. Strength is respect. Strength is power. And power is never found chasing, it's found rising. 9. Act like it's final. What if you treated every moment with a woman like it was your last? Not in some desperate, I have to hold on kind of way, but in a powerful, confident, This moment is all I have, so I give my best, without fear or need kind of way. There was a man named Gaius. He was in love with a woman named Livia. At first, like many men, Gaius chased her, called her too much, texted too often. He worried about every small sign. Was she distant? Did she like him enough? He acted like the future was guaranteed, so he rushed, he begged. He lost himself trying to secure a love that felt unstable. One day, an older friend gave him advice that changed everything. He said, "Gaius, act like it's final, like you have no tomorrow to fix things. Show up fully now, or not at all." It was a shock. But what did it mean? Gaius realized it meant one simple truth. Stop wasting time on fear, doubt, and chasing. Live fully in the present. Be honest. Be bold. Give your best energy and then step back. No over-texting. No desperate calls. No begging for attention. Instead, a man who acts like it's final lives with dignity. He treats every conversation, every date, every moment as if it's the only chance he'll get. Because when you act with that level of finality, you stop giving away your power. You stop clinging to what might never be. You stop chasing a future that's uncertain. And here's the key. Women sense this energy immediately. They feel the confidence, the calm, the strength of a man who doesn't need to prove himself. It's magnetic, it's powerful, and it's irresistible. Gaius started living this way. He showed up fully when with Livia, but he never begged or chased. He respected himself too much. And guess what? Livia noticed. Their relationship deepened, not because he tried harder, but because he acted with presence and finality. So let me ask you, are you living like it's your only shot? Or are you wasting time and energy chasing endless maybes? When you act like it's final, you own your life and your love. You become the man who stands tall no matter the outcome. And that, brother, is the ultimate power. 10. Find strength within. Where do you look for strength when love tests you? Is it in her words? Her actions? Her attention? Or do you look somewhere else inside yourself? There was a man named Julian. He loved a woman with everything he had. But she was unpredictable, sometimes close, sometimes distant, leaving him confused and desperate for her approval. For a long time, Julian's strength came from outside. He felt powerful only when she smiled, when she texted first, when she needed him. But the moment that stopped, he crumbled. One night, feeling lost and broken, Julian stumbled upon the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, and this idea struck him like lightning. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. It hit him hard because Julian realized that all along he had been handing over his power to someone else, someone who didn't always appreciate it. He was like a ship without an anchor, tossed by waves of emotions coming from outside. So Julian made a choice. He would no longer look for strength in anyone else. He started turning inward. He built his mind like a fortress, meditated daily, focused on what he could control, his thoughts, his actions, his attitude. And slowly but surely something incredible happened. He found a power inside that no woman could take away. A calm, steady strength that didn't depend on anyone's approval. A quiet confidence that made him magnetic, not because he chased, but because he stood firm. Let me ask you, where are you drawing your strength from right now? Is it from a woman's attention, or from your own soul? Can you stand strong when she's near, and when she's gone? Because here's the truth. When you find strength within, you become unstoppable. No matter what comes your way, rejection, heartbreak, uncertainty, you remain grounded. You don't beg. You don't chase. You don't lose yourself trying to hold on. You become the man who commands respect simply by being himself. And that kind of strength, that's power that lasts. Julian's story could be yours. When you stop searching for strength in others and start building it inside yourself, you become a stoic man in the truest sense. A man who wins not by chasing women, but by mastering his own mind and heart. So brother, find strength within, because that is the foundation on which true power, true love, and true peace are built. Cassius revisited. Lucilla eventually approached Cassius herself. She couldn't resist. Not because he played games, but because he didn't. He was grounded, confident, unavailable to weakness. She had seen hundreds of men, but none like him. And that's the power of a stoic man. When you stop seeking her approval, you begin to earn her curiosity. When you stop chasing her, you force her to decide if she's worthy of your time, but because you embodied it. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.